Welcome to the question clip on Chapter 7, where we're going to be dealing with the question regarding Hercules traders, so you can follow in your question book if you want to, and the suggested solutions. If we read the required part, as we do before we start any question, in the A part they tell us to prepare the debtors and the creditors control accounts of Hercules traders properly balanced after the information above was taken into account. So we need to draw up two general ledger accounts, and then we're going to do in this question the A and the B parts simultaneously. It just makes more sense for the reconciliation process. So let's read the B part as well. Reconcile the totals of the list of debtors and the lists of creditors with the balances of the control accounts done in A above. So they are linked to each other, so we're going to do this at the same time. Now, for purposes of preparation of the two A and B parts at the same time, we need to get our framework sorted out. So we're going to draw up the two T accounts for the debtors control and the creditors control, the framework there. And then in the B part, we're just going to start with the list of debtors and the list of creditors, and we will complete these as we go along. So we have the general ledger as well as lists of debtors. Start reading the given information. The new accounting clerk that was appointed by Hercules Traders on the 1st of March 20.4 wanted to impress the manager by completing the journals for March 20.4 and the posting to the ledgers as quickly as possible. We know that's a problem. He realized with dismay that his work was not done accurately when the balances of the control accounts did not agree with the totals of the lists of debtors and creditors. If we can just pause there for a minute. How can the control accounts and the list of debtors and creditors not agree with each other? This is a result of the debtors ledger and the creditors ledger. So we compile the list from the subsidiary ledgers, whereas the control accounts, they are included in the general ledger. So normally in real life, we have separate departments responsible for the detailed debtors ledger and the control accounts. So due to human error or omissions, there can be differences between debtors and creditors ledgers, which we use to compile the list, as well as the control accounts where we work with totals. He asked you to assist him with the corrections. In this question, different from the other questions in this chapter, they provide us with balances and totals available on 31 March 20.4. So you have to realize that these totals and balances were provided at the end of the month. In the other questions, they provided us with the balance at the start of the month, as well as the detailed entries. In this case, we do not have that. So the approach will be a bit different, but the concepts of fixing the errors or adding the omitted transactions will stay the same. So they give us a balance for the debtors control account of 9,550. So we are going to include that 9,550 on the debit side of the debtors control account, because debtors control is an asset, and it will increase on the debit side and decrease on the credit side. This will be our balance. And just remember, this was on the 31st of March, not the start of the month. Then they also inform us that we have for creditors control a balance of 12,229. Creditors control is a liability, so that balance will be included on the credit side. Balance of 12,229. So we start off this account at the end of the month with that balance. Then they also provide us with a list total for debtors and a list total for creditors. So we have 8,550 for the debtors and 12,410, which we start the B part of the required as the totals for both debtors and creditors that we need to adjust now. Because you can clearly see that this 8,550, also on the 31st of March, does not agree with the 9,550 for the control account. This 12,229 is not the same as the 12,410. So we start off with all of these balances and totals that are not in agreement, and now we're going to adjust them as we read through the given information. An investigation revealed the following errors and omissions. Now, for the errors and omissions, I want you to think or ask yourself the question, for each of these items, where do I have to make the correction? The correction can either be in the control account or in the list, or then in both of them. So that's the first question that we ask ourselves after reading. And once you've identified the place where you have to make the correction, then you can think in terms of, do I need to increase or decrease debit or credit? Number 1, an invoice of 200 Rand for goods sold to Leba Mtoba was not recorded in the books. If it was not recorded, then where do I have to do the correction? Not recorded means I have to correct the control account and the list. This was an invoice for goods sold, so will this be influencing a debtor or a creditor? After this transaction, we realize that we have to fix both the debtor's control account and the list of debtors with an invoice. Now, if we issue an invoice, the debtor will owe us more. So on the debit side of the control account, we will have to add the 200 Rand. This was for an invoice. So now we have to put down the correct details here, the correct corresponding credit entry. Remember in previous questions, you could just include in the brackets for the sales that was already given to you, you could just add the 200 Rand. Now we do not have that past information. They started off with the balance after this month's transactions. So we need to include the correct credit entry, which will be sales of 200 Rand. And we also need to add this 200 Rand in the list of debtors because the transaction was omitted in total. So we'll have to give a short description here. Invoice of Mtoba omitted. Remember, this list is the fixing of the debtors ledger. So you at least need to inform that department which account they have to go and fix and with which amount they have to go and fix that account. So that will determine the information that you provide in your description over here. It's not account names like in the control account necessarily. Now if we can go over to the second transaction. The total of the debtors control column in the cash receipts journal was undercast by 1,000 Rand. This sentence is difficult to interpret, and the best way to go about doing this is to visualize how they made the mistake. So if we can use a little T account for that one quickly. The total of the debtors control column. Now, debtors control column means that our account that we're going to visualize is the debtors control. In this debtors control column, in the cash receipts journal, so cash receipts, now you have to determine the side of the account that was influenced. Cash receipts will make the debtor owe us less. So this total, which we don't know what it was, but it was entered on the credit side, was undercast by 1,000 Rand. So if this was undercast, that means that it was too low. So I need to add 1,000 Rand to do the correction. Because I mention a total here, we only have to influence the control account. Totals are posted to control accounts, detail posted to the debtors ledger. So the list of debtors will not have to be fixed in this case. The details here in the incorrect entry would have been bank. So if I want to fix this and I do not have brackets to do that, I will have to use the same details in my control account. So if we go over to our control account, we want to fix it on the credit side with 1,000 Rand. My details there will be bank. Can you see, because it was undercast, I need to make the receipts from the debtors more. And increasing receipts from debtors will make my asset decrease. So please don't think in terms of mathematics, then the undercast and overcast won't make sense. Visualize the mistake like we did here in the little t account. Transaction number 3. The total of the settlement discount received column of 145 Rand in the cash payments journal was posted to the debit side of the creditors control account. Let's ask ourselves, where do we have to do this correction? In the control account, in the list, or in both of them? And in this case, they mention a total again. Now, a total in a control account will only influence the control account. So I only need to fix my creditors control account. They mention that it was settlement discount received column 145 was posted to the debit side. If we visualize this mistake again, for creditors control, the settlement discount was posted to the debit side. So they put this 145 Rand in on the debit side of the creditors control account. The heading of the column is settlement discount received. Now, settlement discount received column will only be posted to the settlement discount received account. The creditors control column in this journal would influence the creditors control account. Also, in the creditors control account column, this settlement discount would already be included in the creditors account. Remember, in the cash payments journal, we will have an entry in bank, creditors control, and settlement discount. So if we account for this settlement discount received in the creditors control account, that will be a duplication of the settlement discount. So I do not want this in the creditors control account at all. The fact that it's on the debit side implies that we decrease the creditors control with that amount. I don't want that because that's a duplication of the transaction that was already captured when I posted the creditors control column. So to fix this mistake, I will have to enter this 145 Rand on the credit side, resulting in the cancellation of this mistake that was made. So I need to enter this in my creditors control account. So I'm going to go to the creditors control account. On the credit side, increase it with the 145. Remember, the mistake is included in this balance. The mistake was made, and that's the result of all of the transactions for the month. So I only need to credit this once, and all of these corrections will occur in the general journal. So you can use the collective term journal credits, and the detail would then be settlement discount received. But that collective term will be 100% accurate. If we now have a look at transaction number 4, a credit note of 115 Rand issued to Shane Douglas was entered as an invoice in the debtors journal. Okay, we have to ask ourselves, where do we have to do the correction? In the control account for debtors, in the list, or in both of them? They mention that the credit note was entered as an invoice. So the mistake was made in both the ledgers. This mistake was already made in the journal, and from the journal it will flow through to the total, the control account, as well as the detail of Shane Douglas. So I have to do this correction in both of those. Now we have to decide, will this result in an increase or a decrease? A credit note of 115 entered as an invoice. Let's quickly visualize the mistake again. They included it as an invoice, which would have resulted in an increase of debtors of 115 in my data. I do not want an increase because if I issue a credit note, that means the debtor will owe me less. So I do not only have to take out the 115 on the credit side to be able to cancel the mistake, I also have to enter it as a credit note, as a decrease. So the first credit is just to fix the mistake, and the second credit is to accurately enter the source document on the correct side. So I actually have to duplicate the 115 on the credit side of debtors to enable me to cancel the mistake that was made as well as the correcting entry. Now this mistake was made against sales, because when it's accounted for as an invoice, that will be against sales. So my cancellation will have to use the same details. The correcting entry, it was not a sale, it was a sale return. That's why the details for the second 115 will not be the same as that. I have to split the two. So if I enter this transaction in my debtors control, I will have 115 Rand included twice on the credit side. The one is for the cancellation of the sale of the invoice, and the next entry is for the correction to put it in as a credit note, sales returns. I do not only fix it in the debtors control, I also have to go to the list of debtors and go and fix it there. Now on the credit side of debtors control, we saw that was a decrease in assets. So I have to decrease my list of debtors with 2 times the 115. Remember, this is a letter that you write to that department to enable them to fix up the total that was incorrect. So I do not give them the details. I will write it in the narration there. So 115 Rand times 2, that will give me the 230 Rand that I will have to decrease my list of debtors with. I need to provide them with the name, and then a short description. The next transaction, transaction number 5. The bank returned a check of 320 marked referred to drawer previously received from Tamale Pillay, a debtor, in settlement of his account of 338. So already the account was 338, the check was 320, so the difference between the two, the 18 Rand, that would have been our settlement discount. The only entry made was the check of 320 that was recorded in the cash payments journal. That means they accounted for the cash part of this reversal. From the journal, it would have flown to the control account as well as to the detailed account. So the only adjustment that we need to make is the 18 Rand. Ask yourself, where do we do the correction? Control account, list, or both of them? And if it was an omission, I will have to do this correction in both the debtors control as well as the list. A cancellation will make the debtor owe you more, cancellation of a payment. So this 18 Rand will have to be entered on the debit side of the debtors control account. Cancellation of discount will occur in the general journal, so we can use our collective term again for journal debits. And I will start with the 18 in a bracket because you don't know whether you will have more of these transactions later in the exercise. I can't only fix the control account, I also have to go and fix the list. So in the list on the debit side, that means that I add to the debtors list, and I'm going to give them the details. Tamale, belay, cancel, of discount. Our second last transaction, credit purchases of goods of 615 was posted as 651 to the account of the creditor. Let's just ask ourselves, where do we have to do this correction? In the control account, in the list, or in both of them? And they mention the account of the creditor. Where do we keep accounts per creditor? In the creditor's ledger. So we will not influence the control account. We will only influence the list because the list is compiled from the creditor's ledger. So now I have to go and think of this, visualize the mistake again. Credit purchases of 650 was posted as 651. So a credit purchase would have increased the creditor's account, 651. I don't want a 651 on the credit side. I only want that amount to be 615. So I will have to determine what do I have to decrease this amount with to turn it into 615. So if we have a look at the calculation quickly, 651 minus the 615 will give me 36 Rand adjustment needed. That 36 Rand to decrease a credit will have to go to the debit side. And on the debit side of a liability, that is a decrease. So in my list, which I already classified as the correcting entry for the mistake, in my list of creditors, I will have to decrease this list with 36 Rand. I write down the details. Correction of incorrect purchase and the decrease of the 36 Rand. The last transaction before we can see whether our reconciliation process was successful. Interest of 22 Rand charged on the outstanding account of Veron Yum, a debtor, was not recorded. So again, it's a debtor, an omission of a transaction. So where do we have to do the correction? In both the control account and the list. So if we go to the control account, charging interest will increase the amount due to you. So we're going to increase our asset on the debit side. The charging of interest will also be in the general journal. So I add the 22 Rand to my already included 18 from the previous transactions. And I can't only fix the control account, I also have to go down and fix my list. So I will have to add 22 Rand in the list as well. And I give them the details, the name of the debtor, plus a short description. And once I have all the errors and omissions that was provided, captured in either the control account, the list, or in both of them, I can now see, add up and balance the accounts and the list to see whether my reconciliation process was successful. Let's just close off this bracket, the 18 plus the 22, that will give me 40 Rand. So on the debit side, my debits exceeding my credits, so my total here will be 799790, and the same on the credit side. the total, deduct those credits, $8,560, which will be my balance carried over, and then as well for the starting point for the next month, balance brought down 8,560. We do the same with the creditors control, and in this case we only had entries on the credit side, only had adjustments on the credit side. If we add the two of them, the new balance for creditors will be 12,374. Now, if my reconciliation process was successful, my debtors list will also add up to the 8,560. So we just take the starting point, the incorrect total for the list, add the 200, deduct the 230, and add these two small adjustments, and then 8,560 will be my total for the list of debtors in agreement with my debtors control account. I will do the same with the creditors. That 12,410 minus the 36 Rand will give me 12,374 in agreement with my creditors control account. If in a test question or other questions you see that your reconciliation process was not successful, please don't go and force balance these two, because you get marks for the method that you followed. So you get marks for each of these adjustments, and you might just change something that you did correctly to an incorrect answer. Good luck with your reconciliations of debtors and creditors, and I'll see you in the next question clip.